In today's video, I'm going to be talking about every single desert temple spell, including the new ones. How exactly do they work, all the level requirements, rarities, and how to use them. Without further ado, let's begin. Our very first spell right here, out of the 14 spells we have, is Leaping Strike. Leap forward and slam down, dealing damage around yourself. Now this is one of the new ones that deal, or are the ones that are tutorial ones. Now, how this one works, you actually have mobility with it, which for a desert temple spell is absolutely insane. This looks more insane than a ground slam, which I have right here. If we compare a ground slam and do this, and then we do a leaping strike, honestly, the leaping strike looks like a better attack. Obviously, it has a lower multiplier, as 12,000 times 1, when this one's 300 times 1, meaning a lot less damage, but honestly it looks a lot cooler. Now basically how you use this spell on a dungeon, you get close to a mob, so approximately here, and you jump straight into the damage. Now you can back up and make sure you're out of the range for them not to chase you, and then jump again. Now, if you have mobs going right here and chasing you, like if you get too near them, all you're going to do is walk back with your shift lock and then jump towards them, and you can spin around and deal with them right there. Now for a boss, now this boss has a little bit more range for me, but what I do for this boss, I first let this boss get near me and then I jump right in and get out of its range. Now I'm going to one-shot it here, but for the other people you can go ahead and keep dodging around and keep on using the spell and keep on going with that. Let's move on to the next spell. Alright, next up is we have the Flame Step right here. Now the Flame Step is a mage spell power one and is the other replica of the Leaping Strike with also a mobility. This is like a cheap version of Unstable Warp, which is crazy as a starter spell. Now for Unstable Warp, what you go ahead and do here is just teleport around. Now my damage isn't crazy due to skill points, but for this one, you literally just teleport once and leave a fire blaze. So it's just like a weaker version of this. So what you can do is just go right here and walk away. It isn't like anything tactical or anything like that. Just straight up walk and flame your opponent. So doing a no moving challenge with just that spell is even possible, which is actually insane. Alright, so if you want to be able to use the spell, what you're going to do is use the similar thing as last time, and once they start charging at you, boom, you flame them instantly. For this one, you actually want them to chase you, because once they're chasing, you can just flame them immediately, and just like that, they're gone. You want them to chase you, so you can just immediately just dash them, and they'll be more in front, so if you don't one-shot them, they'll not be able to like attack you right back immediately, which is actually a pretty nice advantage. Now for the boss, it's actually going to be very similar. Now you're going to let the boss rush you, and once you're close, you're going to dash through, and then you're going to keep on dashing back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, until you manage to defeat the boss. Now, that was for the newer spells, but what about the other common spells? The next spell we have on our list is the Fireball, which is the weakest spell of them all for mages. For example, the Flame Step is 200, but for the Fireball it's 200, but the difference here is the no mobility. The Fireball works very simple and used to be the tutorial spell. All you have to do is walk back and use this from a range, and it'll do a certain amount of damage. Honestly, this spell is pretty nice to be used with shift lock, and it's really friendly beginner, and it's really basic overall. Honestly, this is what you're using to mostly beat your dungeons. Alright, for Fireball, honestly, it's the simplest. You can just stand from right here and aim your Fireball to be able to eliminate the enemies. This is a pretty passive move you can use from a range, and you can actually hit the enemies from behind. Now there, I did miss, but there, all you have to do is hit one mob, and the Fireball will explode, causing a range. Now there might be a noticeability range from there, but you can, if you have your distance still, will still be able to dodge these with precision, and you'll be fine. And I didn't even use shift lock with that. Now for the boss, it's even easier. You can just stand right here and use the Fireball from there. Now once it gets hit by the Fireball, it's going to immediately start crawling towards you. So you can use that to start dodging and everything. But there's a free hit head start, which can also be used for the sand golems, so go ahead and take advantage of that one. For the next spell we have here is the Blue Fireball, the last of the common ones. Now this is the exact same thing as the Fireball, but with a 75% more multiplier. Now let's here compare the difference. Now if we use the Fireball right here and hit it, it does 364 trillion. But if we use the blue fireball, we will be doing more. Now I don't know why the hit isn't registering, but it does do more damage. Now how to use blue fireball? Exactly the same way as using the regular fireball. The only difference, it does more. But as you see right here, this thing does approximately 500 trillion, which is a big increase. It's a multiplier over 75 times, or nearly 50% stronger, around 40% stronger I'd say, than the regular fireball. So if you have both, you should obviously use the blue fireball because extra damage. For the bosses, it works exactly the same. Have a little bit of space to be able to get a first headshot and be able to do a bit more damage. Now for the first uncommon spell, we have the arcane spray right here, which is 200 by a multiplier of 6, meaning it has a general power of 1200, but has a 9-second cooldown. This is how it works. You go ahead and get close to your target and use the arcane. Now this one doesn't have as much as a range, but it'll repeatedly hit the enemy, even though if it's not showing, it'll do a total of 6 ticks. So the amount of damage you're seeing that I did right there, which was around 400 trillion, will be replicated approximately 6 times. So multiply that by 6. Now this is a spell that really depends on shift lock a lot. Now how to use the spell? Now you can't use it as crazy range or anything like that. What you use to spray is that you constantly spray your enemies and make sure you're keeping the enemies on your range. So you don't expect to one-shot your enemies like I'm doing right here. So you'll constantly have them following you, or maybe they're aiming at you, and then try to have that arcane targeting absolutely everyone. Now for the Sand Scorpion, this one's a bit different. Let it rush to you, and as soon as it comes to its range, activate your spell so you can get the maximum amount of ticks as possible. Now is this spell better than the other ones? I'm not sure if it's better than Flame Step. It does seem better when it comes to multipliers, but I don't know about mobility. But it's way better than the fireballs, that's for sure. Now, for the first healing spell you get is the Redemption spell. The Redemption spell is the very first healing spell that you can get, and it's probably the one you're going to use through the entire desert temple. There is another one, but it's really rare. Now, Redemption works the following. You basically lay it down and it'll do a healing circle that will basically land for a very short amount of time and has a really long cooldown. The catch of this being it's your very first heal spell, but at the cost of it being a very, very, very long cooldown. But unlike for this, it does go with the mage skill points, so if you're a healer, make sure to invest in stamina or make sure to have a powerful staff right there so you can go ahead and heal. Alright, so here we're actually going to wait and take a certain amount of damage, and then we're going to heal that all up with Redemption. Now unfortunately the boss wasn't enough, or the mobs itself wasn't enough, so I'm just gonna let itself go wild and damage me as much as possible. And once you take a certain amount of damage, what you go ahead and do here is you use the Redemption spell right here, and it's going to heal you on one powerful tick. And right there, pretty much that's how it works. You have the spell pretty much locked until you can use it again. So I don't recommend this is a spell that you should keep locked on. Only as a thing you need, oh I need to heal myself real quick, and you stop and wait, heal yourself, and then switch back. Alright, the next spell is the Battle Shout, which increases your physical damage or melee damage for 8 seconds, but at the cost being a 20-second cooldown, which is ridiculously long. And it works pretty simple. You do a certain amount of physical damage when hitting your opponent right here, and if you use the ability, then you'll do double. It's pretty much that. Alright, now this is how it works. Without the sword, this leap is just that regular leap and did around 3Q damage. But if we use this sword attack and do it again, it'll basically do 6, double the damage. But is it worth it? Absolutely not. Over the fact that it has 12-second downtime, it will be more down than it will be up. And it's just not a good trade-off. Just use double of the certain spell being able to do damage. It's not good in niche situations or anything like that. It's just the cooldown is way too long, and it's way too pricey. Now, if you're really interested into using this as a boss, it really depends on what is your second spell. You shouldn't be using this as your melee attack. Going just with double would be ridiculous. But if you're going to use it, I basically use the sword dance right before, hit it, and make sure to try to lock in another spell since it lasts 8 seconds, and most spell cooldowns are less than that, so you can get double. But just don't use it, man. It's not worth it. The next spell we have here is Whirlwind, which used to be the old spell that you used to main there. Now, this used to go with Fireball, and it doesn't really seem that fair. 200 and 900 here. Then again, it's not really fair here, but it's an improvement. Whirlwind is basically spins at high speeds and hitting everything physical around you. This is basically a sword hit. 100 is your multiplier of your sword damage. So basically here is double your sword damage or triple your sword damage. Right there. And basically hitting over and over. You get near your target and you spin, spin, spin and damage it right there. It's pretty simple. Alright, how you use Whirlwind is pretty simple. You just go ahead and walk up, let them attack and miss, and then use that Whirlwind to start spinning and damaging them like crazy. Since that will be way faster than what your sword, or no matter whatever you use, even if it's an auto clicker, Whirlwind will be more effective. And it will have a more wide general area. So be careful how you use this because it has a very short range and you can get hit easier. I have even taken a hit right here, but it didn't really matter. So you got to be careful with this spell. It's more a high risk, high reward. Now, for the final uncommon spell is we have the Slam Attack, which is a 700 damage multiplier, 7 times your sword, and with a cooldown of 6 seconds. So it's kind of like a better version of this. If you like more like burst damage and some less riskier version. How you use this is basically you just jump or like very much go into your enemy and just slam out all the burst damage instead of having there. Just burst the damage and get out. Alright, this is how you use a slam. Now you go ahead and walk up to your enemies and just go ahead and use it. Once you go ahead and hit the range, boom, and then you can use that time to get away if you missed one. Now you can go ahead and slam again and then run. Then you can actually melee them in the meantime, and once the cooldown is, boom, once again. It's basically a risk reward. Honestly, it feels a little less risky, but at the cost that you do lose 2 sword hits in there. So honestly, is it better than Whirlwind? I'll leave you guys and the viewer to decide on that one. Now for the bosses, you basically let it rush, and once it go ahead and miss, you slam it right there, right in the ground, and leave and knock its lights out right then and there. Pretty much it. And if you obviously don't one-shot it, you go ahead and keep on circling with shift lock. You have no idea how good circles and shift lock go together. Next up is we have the very first Guardian ability, which is absolutely useless. It basically just gives you a tiny little shield of HP on usage, which I don't even know if it works. Not to mention the cooldown being bugged and just being insanely slow. Honestly, it doesn't even say how much it protects. It's just not worth using. There's no need for a dungeon demonstration. It just sucks. Just don't use it. Don't even think about it. Don't. Just don't. Okay, didn't use it? Okay, got it? Just don't. Thank you. Now, we're moving on to an actually useful blue ability, which all spells from on out are mage. Right here is the Poison Cloud, which is 220, which is basically a bit 10% stronger than Fireball, but 6 times. So basically like the Arcane Spray, but a little bit better. But instead of needing to go crazy, dodging with the shift lock, all you have to do is leave it on the spot. And you can walk away and waddle to that very next day while that Poison Cloud just stays there and constantly doing damage. But the price of it is comparison of a 6-second cooldown or a 9-second cooldown. And here's a 9-second cooldown. Actually, it's the same thing, but it's a pretty long cooldown pay price for that. But honestly, I'd say this is the second best mage spell. How do you use Poison Cloud? Now, this is how you use it. You go ahead and even just getting them to move towards you, put that Poison Cloud right there, and you can waddle away until the very next day. you don't need to worry about it. You can just leave it there, use it for traps, use it for whatever. Group up all the mobs. Get the mobs over here and the mobs over there and the mobs everywhere. Get them all over here, get them in a group, and kaboom, all dead. Just like that. Now for the sand scorpion, just aggro it enough for it to go to you and leave the poison and let it get rid of it. And if it doesn't kill, just keep on dodging around until you can use it again and again and again and again. Now we have the most powerful mage spell right here. The powerful, the all lightning 520 to 6 multiplier. How powerful is that? That is crazy. That is so powerful, and the range is ridiculous. I can hit it from right here and hit the enemy, which is a lot of range for Desert Temple. Honestly, that is kind of crazy, and honestly, it's the best spell for Desert Temple. So if you have the spell, go ahead and use it. Honestly, it's definitely worth it, and just keep on using this from a long range. Now for lightning spells, I can stand all the way back here, and the lightning can do all the work. And while this man rushes right here, I already have enough to get my lightning back, and he only hit me once. And it doesn't even matter. Honestly, I can just go ahead and get over here right here on the grass. Yeah, I'm touching grass in Dungeon Quest. That's kind of crazy. And hit him right here, and there we go. And I can constantly keep on dodging and do it right there. That's pretty good. Now for bosses, in the other hand, it works quite simple. All you gotta do is just stand right here and do the first range of the fireballs, but lightning just like 10 times more powerful. Honestly, it's just ridiculously how well the spell is. This without a doubt is the best spell, but there's 2 spells left, the 2 epic ones. Let's check them out. Now for the second to last spell, we have Innervate, which Innervate has the same purpose of Battle Shout, but 10 seconds instead of 20, which is a big difference, and not only just the rarity. Honestly, this can be useful in pretty niche situations, just doing it here to deal heavy damage right there, to be able to deal with mobs, but it's mostly not useful if you have double spells. If you have double lightning, use double lightning. Now how does Innervate work? Exactly the same as the other spell. Just activate it beforehand and just have it in charge right there, no problem whatsoever. Now let's move on to the final spell. And our very last spell is the Holy Circle. The Holy Circle is basically a heal spell that's even better than Redemption. The difference is that this one is only a singular tick and just does 1 healing, and that's it. But for Holy Circle, it does constant over and over and over and over. Now you might say, oh, I'm going to use Holy Circle instead. Well, here's the issue. First, 20-second cooldown. You're not gonna wait that, are you? To use the spell 3 times a minute? Seriously? Is that worth it at this rate? And second, I couldn't even drop the spell myself. How rare is it is beyond me. Honestly, I have better luck dropping a freaking legendary, which is ridiculous. Now as for its use, it's pretty much the same as the regular healing spell. Just as soon as you're low, you activate it, you're there, and it's honestly to stay in the circle, and you'll receive this constant healing. No whatsoever. And there you have it. That is every single Desert Temple spells, including the new ones. I literally had to remake this video for these 2 spells. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe. YouTube says you'll like this video right here, and waddle out, my friends.